Welcome to this explainer. Today, we're unpacking a pretty incredible piece of source material, detailing a hyper-automation AI solution called Snoh Fusion. We're going to explore exactly how this technology is attempting to fundamentally rethink data processing and literally eliminate those manual paperwork bottlenecks that, let's be honest, we all deal with.
So, are you tired of messy, manual data entry? The source material hits the nail on the head regarding a universal industry pain point here. Whether you're in operations, IT, or finance, processing documents by hand is just a massive, frustrating bottleneck. It drains your time, it eats up resources, and frankly, it just begs for human error to creep into your most critical workflows. The documentation frames this friction as a massive operational flaw, and it's one that modern businesses are desperately trying to fix.
Okay, let's dive into this. Here is our roadmap for today. First, we'll look at the manual problem. Second, we'll meet Snoh Fusion AI. Third, we'll cover its core capabilities. And finally, industry use cases.
Starting with Section 1, the manual paperwork problem, mismatched POs and delayed approvals. Think of manual data entry as the outdated villain of our story, slowing everything down.
The documentation dives deep into exactly why legacy systems are so incredibly inefficient. Just look at the daily reality for operations teams. First up, endless manual invoice checks. You've got highly skilled, expensive finance teams stuck basically playing data entry clerk, verifying data line by excruciating line. But you know what's really interesting here? The source material highlights the absolute fragility of rigid robotic process automation, or RPA. Traditional RPA runs on incredibly strict location-based rules. So if a vendor just decides to say, shift a column an inch to the left or tweak a date format, boom, the whole RPA rule breaks. The system crashes, the invoice gets flagged, and a human has to step in anyway to fix the pipeline. It's just a totally fragile ecosystem.
To anchor this in reality, let's look at this specific extraction example, invoice INV-2391. The source material shows how a modern intelligent document processing system is designed to automatically parse this document, grab the 2.12 lock total, and this is the crazy part, accurately pull highly complex alphanumeric strings like that massive GST number. The key takeaway? This level of complex data extraction happens without a single human keystroke, none. We're talking about a total shift from manual data entry to automated data capture, aiming for absolute precision even with those dense numerical strings that we humans almost always miskey.
Which brings us to Section 2, Meet Snoh Fusion AI, the adaptive solution, the modern hero arriving to fix the exact mess we just talked about.
So the documentation defines Snoh Fusion as an AI-first intelligent document processing, or IDP, platform. Now, if you aren't familiar with IDP, it goes way beyond your standard OCR, optical character recognition. OCR basically just sees the physical shapes of letters on a scanned page, right? But IDP uses artificial intelligence to actually contextually understand what those words mean. What's really fascinating here is Snoh Fusion's claim of ERP-level reliability. They argue that their AI understands the semantic relationships inside these business documents so well that it can extract, validate, and process the data with enough accuracy to feed directly into your enterprise resource planning system. No human buffer required.
And this brilliantly illustrates the core philosophical shift in the text. As we just saw, legacy RPA relies heavily on rigid, template-based rules. It totally fails if a vendor changes their standard invoice format. Snoh Fusion, on the other hand, is built on an adaptive AI engine. The documentation calls this an AI over rules approach, because it actually understands context, not just coordinates on a page. The engine claims to learn from variations. So if a table looks completely different, or the grand total is suddenly at the top of the page instead of the bottom, the system just adapts. It extracts the right data instead of freezing up and triggering an error log. Moving right along to Section 3, Core Platform Capabilities, how it works. Let's break down how this adaptive AI actually functions in a daily workflow.
The source material lays out a really seamless three-step flow. Step 1 is intelligent data extraction, where the system pulls the raw data from things like invoices or purchase orders. Step 2 is where it gets super technical, AI-based validation. Instead of just blindly accepting the text it extracted as fact, the AI cross-references key identifiers like a PO number or vendor ID directly against the company's existing ERP database. This guarantees the information is actually valid and matches known records before moving forward. And finally, Step 3, auto-classification. Once the data is pulled and verified, the system automatically categorizes the document and routes it exactly where it needs to go on your internal network. But wait,
It gets better. Beyond your standard PDFs and incoming emails, the source highlights some serious superpowers. Most notably, this engine is designed to read handwritten text. Historically, handwriting has been a massive hurdle for legacy systems, usually forcing someone to type it out manually. The documentation also points out support for bulk simultaneous processing. That means you can dump massive batches of disparate files into the system, and it processes them all at once securely using role-based access, so your sensitive financial or personal data stays entirely locked down, only visible to authorized personnel.
10 to 15. The documentation specifically highlights a 10 to 15-day go-live timeframe. Now, for IT leaders and enterprise architects who are used to software deployments dragging on for, 6 to 8 months? This is a massive pattern interrupt. The material argues that because you don't have to spend weeks mapping templates and writing endless manual rules, the implementation phase shrinks drastically. Organizations can literally start processing real documents in a matter of days.
All right, on to Section 4, Industry Use Cases Built for Scale. Let's see how this flexibility translates across different sectors.
Now, what's really interesting about this slide is how we can see this technology applied across vastly different environments. In finance, they're using it to parse those massive complex KYC documents and automate loan applications. Healthcare organizations use it to securely digitize dense patient records, prescriptions, and insurance claims. Legal teams leverage the AI to chew through incredibly long contracts and compliance docs. And over in education, it's deployed to manage admissions forms, test sheets, and student transcripts. It shows how this single, underlying adaptive AI is attempting to eliminate highly unique paperwork burdens across completely different fields, simply by adapting to the context of the documents.
Naturally, the source material emphasizes that this platform is built for enterprise scale right out of the box. It integrates seamlessly with the RPA bots, ERP databases, and CRMs a company is already using. Plus, it features human-in-the-loop feedback. So if the AI is ever unsure, it flags the document for a human to review, and then, crucially, it actually learns from that human's correction. Top it all off with audit-compliant logs and strict adherence to international security standards like GDPR and HIPAA, and it is totally secure. Oh, and organizations can choose to deploy this via a standard SaaS model or through a bring-your-own-license setup, whatever fits their infrastructure. So if the claims in this documentation hold true, we're looking at a huge leap toward truly frictionless document automation. Whether you want to download a one-pager or book a demo, there are plenty of ways to explore transforming your own workflows today. But it leaves us with a pretty provocative question to chew on. As these adaptive AI models get smarter and more reliable with literally every single document they read, how long will it be until manual data entry isn't just seen as an operational bottleneck, but as a completely obsolete practice in modern business? Thanks so much for joining me for this explainer.